What is up, everybody? Coach Juma here, and today we're going to be breaking down the most important metrics that you need to be tracking through your fitness journey. Tracking your progress and having objective data to follow through with what you're doing is going to be the biggest difference between knowing you're making progress and just feeling like you're making progress, or even feeling like you're stuck, because our emotions aren't always indicative of what's actually happening. So having good objective feedback to follow up with that will help us double check and make sure that we're doing all the right things we need to be doing and heading in the direction we want to be heading in with our weight loss or muscle building goals. Now, whenever tracking gets brought up, a lot of people are hesitant to get started with tracking, but there are so many benefits to it. Again, knowing that you're making progress is a big one, but also it helps keep you accountable to follow through with the plan that you set forth with yourself. Knowing that you have specific metrics to hit every single day and data to show you what kind of progress you've made over a specific period of time will help keep you on track to either continue making progress or to adjust course or break free from a plateau that you otherwise wouldn't have known you've had if you weren't tracking. You have measurable data to back up that you've lost X amount of pounds, lost X amount of inches, started lifting X amount more weight on a specific lift, or have kept up with movement for a period of time. And knowing is always more powerful than not knowing, because when you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what to change, and you won't know what to do if you ever get stuck or hit a plateau. So having that awareness now is crucial to set your future self up with success. And the last most valuable aspect of tracking is having something to compare yourself to. Now, comparison isn't something you want to do in your weight loss or training journey when you're comparing yourself with other people, but it's always good to compare yourself with your previous self, to compare what you're doing now with what you were doing before, seeing how consistent you are, how much you're showing up, how well you're able to stay on plan compared to where you were a couple months ago. So now that we know the importance of tracking, what are you actually supposed to track? There's three main categories that I usually have my clients track when going through any kind of weight loss journey: their physical progress, their activity, and their nutrition. With physical progress, we want to track that to see that our body is actually changing the way we want it to. You know, you're doing this for a reason. You're doing this to change how your body looks, how your body's shaped, how big it is, how small it is. You want to change that. So knowing the metrics of where it's at now and where it's going to be a couple weeks down the line, a couple months down the line, is going to give you certainty that your body is changing the way you want it to. And I like to have variety with my physical progress metrics, because any one metric by itself isn't going to give you the full picture of what's going on and how your body is changing. Take the scale, for instance. I made an entire video on why you can't trust the scale by itself, and you can watch the full video here. It's really unreliable as a sole data point to use on a day-to-day basis. We still use it to gather data, but we don't rely on it as our only thing to tell us whether we're doing good or we're doing bad, we're making progress or not making progress. So when taking your scale weight, the best practice for it is to weigh yourself a few times a week, 4 to 7 times is best, and take the average of your weights for that week and compare it to each week after that. You want to see how your weight trends, not how it fluctuates day to day. Taking your weekly average, comparing it to the next weekly average or the prior weekly average is going to be your best bet to show you the trend that you're headed in weight loss or with muscle building. The scale doesn't tell us the full story, and that's why we need to look at other ways to measure physical progress. So another metric that I like to use is taking progress pictures. This one's a little more subjective. If you control the variables properly, you can use this as a good, reliable data point to show how your body is changing month to month. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to change how you look. You're trying to change what your body is shaped like, and the best way to do that is to see what it's shaped like over time and how that changes over time. The scale never tells you what you look like and how your body is shaped. It just tells you what you weigh in a point of time. And then the perfect third thing to complement both of these is taking tape measurements to see how big you are, how small you are. Tape measurements are good objective feedback. You have numbers measuring how big you are, how small you are, and can accurately show you how your body is trending over time. You could do this just by taking a simple measuring tape, wrapping it around your chest, around your arms, around your thighs, around your midsection, and seeing where it's at right now and how it trends over time. Again, the more important thing for you here is you're trying to become a smaller person, and smaller in size doesn't always mean smaller in weight. So having this to turn to as well is incredibly helpful, seeing the progress that you're trying to make and knowing that you're making that progress. So those are the three most important physical progress metrics to track. Now, one thing to note with all of these is that you want to control as many variables as possible to make sure that there's nothing manipulating the data. So with progress pictures and tape measurements, I like to do them once every 2 to 4 weeks, the day after a rest day, in the morning, after you use the bathroom, before you eat or drink anything, and wearing the same clothes if possible. This helps us make sure that there's nothing deceiving us from the progress that we're making and gives us good concrete evidence to work off of. Now, the next category of things to track is going to be your activity. The more obvious one is going to be your training activity. You want to make sure that what you're doing in the gym is progressing over time. You don't want to get caught up mindlessly moving, doing the same weights, going through the same reps and motions, because at some point, repeating the same thing over and over again isn't going to be helpful for you anymore. Your body will have adapted to those movements, adapted to the stimulus you're demanding of it, and slow down change as a result. So tracking the weight that you're lifting, how many reps you're doing, the sets for each exercise that you're doing as well, can help you know that you're staying on track, making progress, and not going backwards in progress as well. An underrated metric to track for activity is your step count on a day-to-day basis, aka non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Neat activity can be the silent killer of fat loss for a lot of people, because they'll train hard in the gym, they'll reduce their calorie intake and track their calories poorly, but then the 100 hours that they're spending outside of the gym, they spend it moving less frequently. And a lot of times, because you reduce your calorie intake, your body will subconsciously move less, and as a result, take you from being in a calorie deficit into caloric maintenance. So making sure that you're keeping up with this as best as you can, measuring your steps on a day-to-day basis, hitting your step goals, roughly around 7,000 to 12,000 steps a day is best. If you're hitting a plateau, 9 times out of 10, this is going to be the first thing that I would look at as a coach to see if this is the culprit, because it usually is. The last category to measure is going to be nutrition. And the most obvious things you're going to be measuring for nutrition is going to be your total calorie intake, because that is what's going to drive change. Making sure that you're eating the right amount of calories will help you continue to make progress and break through plateaus if you're having them. Some key nutrients that are going to help make the weight loss process easier: protein and fiber. We want to make sure that we're including protein into our diet so that we're recovering from our training properly, we're maintaining as much muscle tissue as we can, we're feeling fuller when we're eating so we don't have a lot of hunger or cravings throughout the day, and get the metabolic benefits out of it to burn a few extra calories to help us with our weight loss. With fiber, it provides a lot of the same benefits, but also helps us with our digestion so that we're not experiencing any kind of digestive discomfort while losing weight, because that will slow down the weight loss process as well. Downloading an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer that gives you objective measurements for the food that you're taking, tells you how many calories each food has, how much protein, how many grams of fiber you're consuming, is going to be incredibly helpful to make sure you're sticking to the plan, doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and knowing what to change in case you hit a plateau. You don't have to be 100% on point every single day. It's always better to work with ranges than it is to work with specific numbers. So if you have a calorie goal of 2,000 calories a day, for instance, you don't have to hit exactly 2,000 calories every day. You can go above or below 150 calories and still make significant progress down the line. So if your goal is 2,000 calories, really what we're trying to get to is anywhere between 1,850 and 2,150. With protein, I always like to set a minimum number that we like to aim for, and anything above that will be perfectly fine. The general guideline I like to aim for is having 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. So whatever your goal weight is, you want to take that and have that many grams of protein per day. So if your goal is to be 120 pounds, having 120 grams of protein at minimum every single day is going to be what you aim for. You can go above that, but you want to make sure that the lowest you get any given day is around 120. And with fiber, the general rule of thumb is going to be that men have about 30 to 40 grams of fiber per day because they consume more calories, and women will have around 20 to 30 grams of fiber per day. So this sounded like a lot. Really, you just have a handful of things that you need to be tracking on a daily basis, and just a couple more to be tracking on a monthly basis to make sure that you're making the progress that you need to be. On a daily basis, you want to make sure that your step count is good. If you're working out, you're tracking your weights, reps, and sets, and you're tracking your food intake, making sure that you're hitting your calorie ranges, protein marks, and fiber marks. Over the span of a month, you want to have done your tape measurements and progress pictures once or twice, and compared weekly averages of your scale weight over that 4-week period in the month. Now, you don't have to track all of these metrics starting tomorrow, but choose a few key ones that you know you could do better with and start tracking those, and slowly add on more metrics to track over time. The more metrics that you track, the more likely you will be to reach your goal, and it doesn't become a matter of if you'll reach it, just a matter of when. So I hope you found this helpful, guys. Make sure to like, comment if you have any questions, and subscribe to the channel. We're putting out new videos 5 days a week. And until next time, stay stupid.